Information. There we go. Hello, everyone. I am here with Russell Wright, who just ran the World Open War three-man bolt action World Championships. Congratulations on a well-run tournament, Russell.
And congratulations on winning, Bo.
Thank you.
It was very close run thing. You guys nearly
yeah.
missed out, didn't you?
We
Day one,
really did,
I
yeah.
really thought you'd blown it, and then suddenly,
yeah,
Switzerland of all the countries saved you, I believe. So wow,
we did. They did. And I had no idea that they would do that for us. But yeah, they did. Also, I think the Welsh actually saved us a little bit because we were
on day two.
On day two, we were running really tight with the Spanish. Yeah, we had beaten them, but we really needed the Welsh to do well against the Spanish, and they did.
And they did. If they really threw a spoke in the wheel. Yeah, absolutely.
True.
And that was one of the great things. The tournament was really closely fought. You can see the teams, the top few teams are really close to each other at level, and that was a fantastic thing to see.
Yeah, because that means that everyone is on the same level, and means that there's a lot to fight for, right? And the excitement goes on for a long time. So Russ and I today are going to talk about the tournament, the event itself, how it felt to run it, and all of that. We're not going to talk about like what happened in the games, but we're going to talk about it as an event, right, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely.
And while we're doing that, I actually wanted to share with you some pictures of the event. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Just a sec. Here we go. Right. So these are images from the event, and I will just, while we're talking, I'll just slowly...
that's the aircraft. That's the airfield.
Yeah, that's the airfield, yeah.
Very open table.
Yeah.
Designed to be very advantageous to armies with vehicles.
Yeah, and while we're talking about that, because could you just talk us through the whole idea with the terrain and the setup for all of that?
Absolutely. So we had 24 tables.
Yeah.
And we grouped them into 3. So you got 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, and we grouped them together. And when we grouped them, we made sure they're all different. So a key part of the tournament is your table selection. I heard another podcast where they're talking about, oh, this table was unplayable for wheeled vehicles. That was by design. So if you were sensible, you looked at your 3 tables and said, I can't put my 5 flamethrowers in jeeps on that table because I can't win on that table. So it was deliberately designed because you got to choose your table. It wasn't forced on you, and you had a selection of 3. And the feedback I've seen so far has been very, very positive. A few people were a little bit concerned at first when they saw the tables because they are pretty different. But once we got through round 1, people loved the tables. Overall. So
I personally really like the tables because they were so goddamn pretty. I mean, they were some of the nicest tables I've ever played on.
And thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And even though I personally dislike the rules changes, some of the rules changes that we had to do because the 3D
well, we
element.
can debate that. I would say we didn't actually change any rules. What we did is there's some flex options that we used. But we'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Yeah. But my point being that even though there was like a concern on my part about the 3D element of it, it really benefited the game, and it really benefited the immersion of the game, and it was just exquisite to play on those tables because it was so lovely. So difficult to store though.
Oh God, yeah. There's not many places you could do that, and we're very fortunate that we can do it because we have a permanent site. The game is so much more interesting, in my view, when you do have that extra element. So for example, I know ruins, as written in the rule book, they are infinitely high. However, it does also say, unless the players agree otherwise, and it's our clubhouse, so we agree otherwise.
So you agree.
So and for me, that's not a change of rule.
Yeah,
that's us flexing a rule option that's allowed. And I think it just makes the games, as you say, they're a lot more immersive. Just a picture there is a really good example. You can see a road. It's covered in scatter.
It is.
So you've got debris there from the destroyed buildings. The scatter is just for decoration. And it has that was no one of the things.
That was one of the things that I really enjoyed, that you guys had spent so much time prepping. So, the tables were prepped to the extreme. How did you manage the logistics of all of that?
We started preparing tables on Tuesday. We already had about 12 tables designed that we knew we would do, and then we worked on the others as they went up. So that was me and our club president, Andy Finch, who actually builds a lot of the terrain as well. So he knows it really well. He put down 6 tables in like 30 minutes. That would have taken me 3 hours. Because he just knows his terrain. He's bang, 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 bang. What do you need to change? We changed that. We then did a review of all the tables to make sure they were balanced. We didn't want any tables that were one-sided. And you may have noticed for sectors, so the final mission sectors, there was a table with trains, and we removed the trains from that game because it affected the balance. But it didn't for other games.
For the viewers, we might just mention, because not everyone was there, that train table.
Yeah, of course.
It went, and a lot of the tables actually had connections. So you were standing on one table, and the table basically continued onto your side table. Even though you weren't playing with those dudes, it really helped the immersion that there was this continuous terrain going that way. And there was one table that had a train track going straight across 2 tables in the middle. And the rules for that terrain, because again, Russ had been very nice, and the rules were all, how do you interpret the terrain? It was all written out for us.
We did what we could there to help players.
And it said wheeled vehicles can't cross these train tracks, so that was really difficult to play on if you were playing sectors or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Envelopment would have been impossible on that table, but luckily we didn't play.
Well, it depends on your army pick.
It really does.
If you've got a Japanese horde army,
no,
you look at
no
that,
problem.
This is fine. If you've got 5 dodges, don't pick the table. But the good news for you is that was one of 3 options. The other 2 tables included the very open one with roads. So selecting the table was, to my view, as important as selecting your opponent.
It did make it much more important, because otherwise the matchup system would have been basically just trying to get the right matchups right. But here,
that's boring.
The tables actually mattered, and the captain who didn't get the matchups actually got to decide tables quite often. So that was a really nice feature of the matchup system and the tables that
worked well, because it's different. No other tournament does it, but I felt as a feature it was a really good feature.
It really was. And
Stalingrad table.
Oh yeah, that was a lovely table. I actually played on that table with Johnny Curran. Lovely table. So much scatter on it.
Oh my god, it's covered in scatter.
Buckets of scatter.
I literally threw buckets on it. What you can see in the picture though that is quite useful. So you see the statue of Lenin in the middle. There is a terrain marker that is rough ground.
Exactly.
And gave hard cover to infantry only, and it's surrounded by scatter. The rest of the scatter doesn't affect the table; it's just for decoration.
And the viewers might also notice along the corners here, along most of the ruined corners, there were these patches as well. That at least Johnny and I played as rough ground as well.
That's correct. We're very open to players changing. So if we have 2 players who are not happy with the way the terrain's run, and they both want to change it, we're completely cool with that, as long as they both agree to it. And we had a couple of incidents of that where players were like, I don't really want to play it this way. And it's like, well, that's fine. That's fine. Just make sure you enjoy your game.
Johnny and me actually played the ruins on this game as normal ruins and not open inside, because there was that
that's fair enough.
So
we had one building that, because it's 24 inches long.
It's really
long. Play it as open, because otherwise it just slows units down. But you know, if you're both happy to play it that way, go for it.
Could you also talk a little bit maybe about like building a pack for an event like this? What goes into your process of designing a pack for this?
So I say we. First things first, was there demand for the event? And I felt there really was. There is another international event that's very successfully run. And I just felt there was room for another one. And so that was where we were coming from. And I got a lot of interest when I suggested it. So then you build a pack. The pack, I wanted the event to be slightly different. So we went to 1,100 points, because it means you can't net list. No tournament plays that, to my knowledge. So you've got to build a new list. Single platoon. We want to see who are the best players, not who can build a list and spam units. So that's why that decision was made. So that's all a good start. Now we know the terrain is substantial that we can use, and therefore we know the mission build can reflect that.
Yeah.
And so there were certain missions that were non-starters for us, like double envelopment just will not work on some of those tables. So we're aware of making sure the missions selected will work on what we want to do with the tables. And that's why we ended up using like timely objectives from Pat and Snafu, and we looked at some of the BAA ones, Bot Action Alliance, and we brought in about, I think it was 3 different missions. And the feedback has been people were very happy with the mission choices. And we're going to review the new pack, so I know the guys Cast Dice have spoken about it. There's a new pack out there. We will look at that and we will pick out the best missions.
For me, I felt that like there was a slight overweight of objective missions, which is kind of cool because objective missions is where you basically get the most tactical games.
No, I agree.
Many people complain that kill point missions are down to luck of the dice most of the time. I don't agree with that, but I've heard it argued.
It's a dice game. You can lose any game on bad dice rolls.
You can.
It happens. It happens for everyone. We deliberately balanced the missions. So even the objective missions included missions that were combined. So it was objective and kill dice on a couple of them. We had a couple of straight kill dice missions, and we had sectors, which is a movement mission, envelopment, double envelopment, and what's the defense mission? Point defense. They don't work to my mind in tournaments, so we just bin them immediately.
For me, double envelopment is okay, but single envelopment and
some of our tables, it would be a problem.
Some of the tables here would make double envelopment difficult. I agree. So on these tables specifically, there was one thing. What was I thinking about? Oh, sorry.
I'll come back, but I'm sure.
Right, brain fart. You had something in the pack, which oh god damn it! I have no idea. Let's move on.
What, with regards to the missions, or?
Yeah, with regards to the missions.
We explained. So the other things we did, we explained very clearly what the rules were on the objectives. You have to be within 3 inches of the center. And then we went and we got, with the help of a guy called Rich Humble, helped designed the objective markers. We then got them printed by Gary Betts.
Which you can actually see one of the objectives.
Yes,
right
there
here.
you go. There you go. They are exactly 2 inches wide, which means you have to be within 2 inches of the edge. And all the objectives were the same. I know one player was switching them out, which I've got to be honest, I wasn't particularly happy about because I felt it could affect the way the game played. But if his opponents were happy with it, I'm not going to complain. So,
no reasons to stop him then.
No, in the end, it's not my event. I very much take the view. I run it maybe, but it's the players' event, and I've always run it with a view. It's for the players. So if they ask me to do something, I'll do it because it's for their fun. It's not for my fun. It's for their fun.
Now I remember. You also introduced secondary objectives on all missions and on all tables. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, right. The point of secondaries is even in a game where it's not going well for you, there is a secondary, literally a secondary objective. So you could say, look, I've lost this game, but I still want to score something for my team. And I can go and grab an objective, and okay, it's not the best result, but the secondaries, we use them instead of dice skills to decide splits, which was very important for you guys against the USS ones. As it turned out, so
for us,
I actually like secondaries.
It really meant a difference,
And also, a lot of armies are at a disadvantage if you play dice kills. So some of the armies with hordes, with inexperienced hordes, immediately have a problem when you're playing dice kills. Because they will give away dice, and I would rather. I don't really want to punish those armies because we don't see them enough. I don't want armies that are 14 dice, all veteran. That's fine, but there's a lot of them. So giving people an option that doesn't punish them, I think is worth doing.
How did it feel to actually run one of the missions that the Snafu guys that Pat had written when Pat himself was playing?
You have to ask Pat on that. I can't remember if he won it or not. If he didn't win it, that'd be disappointing. I've played that mission, and I played it in Wales. I remember, and I played Rich Chiezo, who I ended up tying with for the championship, and I beat him on that mission, and he was 6-0 up on turn 3. and I managed to win it, I think 8-6. So I basically turned it around, and it was playing that mission when I realised what an amazing mission it is. It's really well designed. The only adjustment we made was to stop sniper teams and forward deployers just grabbing them. We didn't allow them to forward deploy within 12 inches. And the second thing, you had to have at least 3 men on the objective, which meant one tactic is if you get a bunch of troops on it, you can shoot them down to 2 men, and then they're not controlling it anymore. So that worked really well.
It really worked very
and actually, well. You can see a secondary. Sorry, in the picture you've put up there, Bo.
Yeah, right over here. There's a secondary.
And they're Flames of War objectives, and we use those because they are very different to.
Very visible on the tables.
Exactly. So it's very clear what we're playing to.
And basically, you can also see that one guy has replaced one of the regular objectives with his own invention here.
Yeah, and then that one I didn't mind. I think that may be the Luftwaffe team.
I think it was. Yeah, it was.
But that was fantastic. So and that one I didn't mind.
Yeah. You also had a FAQ written out and printed beforehand.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I wish I hadn't done that almost.
Why?
So we have a team of 5 referees.
Yeah.
And that's it's me. I'm an Englishman, obviously. Gary Betts, another Englishman. You then have Josh from Wales. Well, technically, you could argue I'm Welsh as well. And then we had Ryan from the United States. And we had Danny from Holland or Netherlands, and they were all great because they gave us a different input, a different view on the rules, and we wrote a 24-page FAQ before the tournament so that every referee knew these are issues that come up. This is our ruling on that. Yeah. I then released it to the players, which now I'm like, I'm not doing that again. It will just stay with the referees because we got it. It became a situation where people were trying to create the rules. And that's not our job. We're a tournament. No. We're not here to fix rules. We're here to understand how we want the rules understood. Which goes to your point on we changed rules. I would vehemently argue we didn't. I've heard that comment before. I think where we've been challenged on that is the ruins not being infinite height. As I say, the book offers that as an option. It says if you agree with your opponent, and then the only other one that's come up is if you charge a vehicle. I've seen games where players, they roll a d6 and they deliberately move their guys 6 inches away to drag the assault away. That for me is so gamey.
I've had one unit being dragged straight into an ambush where there was a flamethrower on ambush. I lost my whole attack unit.
That for me is just too gamey. So we said the first unit that gets out, it sits between you and the vehicle.
Which makes absolute sense.
I don't think it's obvious. Really.
I don't think anyone should complain. The only complaint could be that I think that there was a lot of guys. But what if they don't fit in 1 inch? And
really,
there was a lot of
just work it out. You know, I very much a rules as intended, not a rules as written player. But for the event, I went very rules as written on most things because I do appreciate there are language differences, there are meta differences. So to be fair to everyone, you need to run on that basis.
You do, right? Now, what about TOing at the event itself? What do you think is important when you're TOing an event of this size, of this magnitude, of this importance?
The most important thing is your support team. Yeah. So we were very lucky in that we had, and I'll name them, they were really good. We had Gary Betts there, who was running. So I set up an Excel sheet, which he was then running and doing the scores on, and I double checked. Yeah. A couple of errors were made on the score sheet, and we picked them up immediately. One player on one occasion pointed out, "Oh, I think my score's wrong," because we put the scores up at the end of every round, and he was right. We went and adjusted it. I think that is crucial because I've been to events where the scoring's been wrong, and that's unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. You've got to get scoring right. So having Gary there was fantastic. He's also a very experienced TO. He was refereeing and making decisions. We had Josh from Wales and we had myself. So we had 3 referees. Marcus got a little bit involved as well from Warlord. I think we're at a referee. Next year, I think we'll have 4 referees because on occasion players had to come and look for us. And we should be there ready for them. So that's first thing. And then it was basically small things like jobs you don't expect. Being asked to drive someone to their hotel because they need to get an insulin injection. Or going to pick stuff up, which you're not really ready for. But when you've got a really good support staff, as it were, you can do it. and that made it easier. We had Andy running the kitchen, making coffees and bacon rolls for people. We had Chris. Chris was running around taking orders from people. So I don't think there's another tournament in the world where you get table service whilst you're playing.
Well.
Oh, there is. Oh, good. I'm glad there is.
Well, we did try to do it at the Zealand Open. Actually, we had
a good idea.
An open bar, and it's really a good idea. And I know for a fact that the Americans have run a tournament where there was actually. It was in a hotel lobby, and they had a bar coming down to the tables and serving them at the. That was
it's probably in Las Vegas. Then.
Oh, maybe.
But we felt that was a really nice element that players could really go and play, and they knew they could still call a drink up, and so that was good. And then it's just dealing with referee. 90% or 80% of the refereeing decisions were basically line of sight checking. Yeah, we've actually got a periscope we use. So that if you saw that came out a few times to check, and then the ruling's given straight away, and that's the end of the matter. 20% of the rulings were just checking rules, and there were a couple of quirky opinions on some of the rules, but I 100% back. Our referees team were ready. I'm 100% confident that our rulings worked and were right, and we were consistent. I'm told one player went and asked 3 different referees for a ruling, and he got the same answer from every one of them.
That is good.
So, A, I'm over the moon that our consistency was there. B, he was very naughty. He should have taken the ruling.
You should have taken the ruling first time. I am of the opinion, and I hope you are too, that what basically, and I've learned this from Paul Walker, is that once you call a TO over, he's just there to make the game continue. Whatever ruling he gives you, that is it.
100% agree. I even gave a ruling in one game, which I knew was incorrect.
Yeah.
And I did it to speed the game up, and the player queried it, which was fair. And I went, I know it's a wrong ruling, but I want you to get on with the game because this game is far too slow. That was, from our perspective, we had no issue in terms of what we thought was unfair play with players. There was a slight difference with rules as intended versus rules as written. So the 2 things that came out, they were quite interesting. I think they're worth discussing, actually, because they show the meta. I am very much one of those players who's like, oh, well, that's fine. You can do that. So on occasion, I was in a game with a Spanish player. He wanted to make an adjustment to one of his infantry sections after the next dice had come out. It's not been used yet, so I had no problem with it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But his opponent was like, well, no, you can't. You've done it. You finished your turn. And I understand both arguments. I did see both arguments. So that's an interesting one. Some players will say, no, that's it. The turn's done. Others players will say, well, no, I just want to make sure I've got what I wanted. Or maybe if you're shooting through cover and you're like, well, that wasn't my intention. My intention was there'd be no hard cover. Can I move a couple of figures? I've got no problem with that. Some players don't like it. It's just a different way of playing the game.
There is that difference, and I felt like that there is this difference. Maybe it's a cultural difference between certain nationality 100%. And their metas.
100% agree.
And I think a lot of it can be helped by just very clearly stating your intention.
But even then, even with stating intention, sometimes a player will go, well, no, you've finished your turn. Why are you now doing that? So, but you know what? It was fine in the end. We dealt with it. The only other issue, which is a bit more serious in my view, is time management. We had 5 games where the TO intervened. And he intervened by, it was me or Gary normally.
And that was all time management issues.
It was time management where we said this game is taking too long. We think there's one player responsible for the slowness of the game. And therefore we're now going to draw dice for you and we're going to push you over the game. And in one situation, we actually told the players, one of the players was clearly very unhappy with the time management. And so we made a call. Look, the game is not ending at 2.5 hours. If need be, you're going to use all your 30 minutes in the rest area. And if the game's still not finished, we will carry on playing it because we're not allowing a player to flex time to their advantage. Whether it was deliberate or not, it's another matter. I do understand under pressure, some players will slow down and they freeze a bit. But in the end, we have to make sure that you get a full game in and you're not
and that the
disadvantaged.
results are what they should be, and
Yes,
not just something
100%.
that was based on someone's time management,
Yeah,
right?
and that's something we're going to look at a bit more next year. The Spanish very successfully use chess clocks.
Yeah.
I am inclined to say after round 1, if there's an issue, any player who wants a chess clock, we'll let them use a chess clock.
Yeah.
If it's only an issue, 95% of the games will be unaffected. Players are fine. But there'd be 5%.
I think the only thing with chess clocks is you need to get used to having that in your game. It's not a natural thing for us who don't use chess clocks normally.
No, I'd say yes and no on that. Yes, I kind of agree. It helps if you've played with it before.
Yeah.
But with that said, I went to Spain having not used one, played in the tournament,
and it went fine.
Problems.
Yeah.
And with certain opponents, the other argument is, well, when do you turn? What if there's a debate or an argument? Whose clock time is it on?
Yeah.
To be honest, with certain players, I will happily lose 10 minutes on my chess clock to make sure they actually finish the game.
Yeah.
So,
that's the thing.
That's something. And but other than that, the atmosphere is fantastic. I've done a Survey Monkey. All the feedback's wonderful. No one's complained about the spirit of the tournament. Everyone was really happy. So that went really well. I think we had robust refereeing. Our referees didn't run away and hide. When there was a difficulty, we weren't like, oh, God, we don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
We rolled our sleeves up and we made a decision.
Yeah.
So I felt like that went well.
Yeah, it really did. What about the location itself? What did you think about that?
The club or South End, because there's two points there. The location, our clubhouse, it is a clubhouse. Let's be very clear. It's not a 4-star hotel. It is a clubhouse, and I plan to spend a bit more money on it for next year and just tidy it up a little bit. We're going to add a second toilet. So if we have to get a porta cabin, I think one toilet wasn't enough. So we've learned that. We're going to add another one, tidy up a bit. There's improvements we can make, but in the end, you have to remember it is a clubhouse. It's like a man cave, if you want. And you get.
And it's a wonderful man cave, by the way. I wish it was my clubhouse, but
everyone who comes and sees the place wishes that it was a clubhouse. We are incredibly fortunate to have that, and that's mainly down to our treasurer, a guy called Freddie, who he owns the business we're next to, and it's his property, so he rents it to us, basically a peppercorn rent. And as a result, we've got all this incredible terrain because it doesn't need to be moved. There is, believe it or not, we covered 24 tables, and I looked around, and on the shelves around the club, there was still so much terrain. And
you had for at least double that amount.
And that's on show. Believe it or not, Bo, above your head, in the attic, we have at least double the terrain, and we rotate it every now and then. The amount of terrain is insane. Wow. There are certain tables I wanted to use. We had some winter tables, but they're a bit difficult to use. Even I have to draw a line. So I am all about the image, how the table looks. And if it makes it slightly less playable, I almost don't care. I might just get on with it. But even I had to draw a line on a couple of tables. Oh, I see you've put the Valley of Death. That table terrified people when they first saw it. They're like, "Oh my god!"
It wasn't actually that bad to play on.
No, it's a great table to play on.
We were playing these rows of trees as forests, so they blocked line of sight.
That's right.
And that meant that even though you were on the hills, and by the way, that's me on the left and my opponent Colton on the right.
He was a good player, wasn't he?
He was really a good player. Yeah,
he is a revelation of the tournament in my mind. You got a 19-year-old who's come over with his family. And absolutely smashed it. Yeah,
he really did. Unfortunately, I made I think I'm now wanted in the States because I accidentally gave him a present that we were handing out like bitters to our opponents, and he's 19. You can't do that to a 19-year-old in the States.
No, you gave it to me in the UK. You're okay. They are hopefully coming next year. I would love to see them. They were. Yeah. I think the US team, the Swans, were the revelation of the tournament.
Really were.
Particularly him. Yeah. But that table there, what you really can't see, because obviously it's a 2D image, is it's quite a steep slope. The slope has been built by one of our guys, so it's just about right that a model won't normally flip over, although it will occasionally.
I had to put some of my models lying
I can
down.
see some of them there now.
But there are plenty of places where they could actually stand, like where it flattens out a bit. You have one here where it flattens
it's
out
been
quite a bit
designed
here.
with that in mind.
So it really works.
And a lot of people saw it, hated it, and then everyone
Yeah.
who's played on it has told me they really liked it.
Yeah. I immediately saw it and I was like, that is the Valley of Death, which everyone called it.
Yeah.
And
it really is.
It really wasn't that bad at all.
No, not at all. And the other thing I like about that table, it's a 12-foot long table. What happens is the road goes all the way along, and it enters a village, and then the next table next to it is completely.
You can actually see where this is where our table ended, and then the hill goes a little bit beyond it, and then comes a village, which was the next table over, which was brilliant. One thing about the location is that for me it was a bloody miracle that no one dropped their army. Because
fair point. I remember you saying that to me.
We were in some of the rooms. It was very narrow walking spaces. There was a lot of sit-down spaces where you could put your army, and where there was even like chairs where you could sit down if you needed to. Not enough though, but
that's another thing. We will be adding more chairs.
Yeah. But more chairs will also mean that we're bumping more elbows, because
but there will be more
I was really worried that I or someone would just walk past an army and their clothing would snag or something.
I must admit, I nearly did it. I went I was in the narrower room, which is the gaming room. It's got the nickname the Brexit Suite, because when it was built, and I was walking through there, and I nearly took a tray off a table.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, because I got a fat bum. But no, we did okay there. We had lots of trays as well, so we did provide lots of trays to help players, and there are tables. But we've learned more chairs, a couple more table areas to set up.
Yeah, and there's nothing really to do about how the rest of the rooms are set up with the amount of space. So
no, that's
one thing.
Oh, sorry. The other change we're going to make, Bo, we put the Stalingrad tables on the 6-foot wide tables, which made it quite hard to get the models into them.
True.
If we use those tables again, they will go on 4-foot wide tables, so they're easier to play.
So easier to reach in. Yeah. That's a good idea.
And the desert ones can go on the 6-foot because they're open.
Yeah. Really is.
The desert ones were a revelation, actually. A lot of people looked at them and were like, oh my God, like there's no cover. And then when they actually played them, I've got feedback from people like Matty from the Luftwaffe team saying it was a fantastic table. He loved it. And the people who actually played them said they've really enjoyed them. So
I played against Riz on the very open desert table. There was like differences in the desert tables as well.
Yes, there was some.
And we played on the very open. And
did you play on the one? So not the one with the hill.
Not the one with the hill. It was the one where there was like a few towers in.
Oh yes.
And then we were playing timely objectives, so we all had to push into the center. And my reach, the reach in my army absolutely killed him, because I could reach out and like shoot him from
he shouldn't have
his
put
back
his army
line.
on that table then.
He really shouldn't.
He made a mistake.
He really shouldn't.
Did you notice all the tables were themed as well?
Yes.
So they were all based on an actual
location, and that really again helped with the immersion, as we've talked about several times. Really lovely to have that as part of it. Can't remember what it was that this Valley of Death was though, but it all has
it's the motorway into Minsk.
Motorway into Minsk.
That's what it's based on. So if you read the history of it, it's absolutely fascinating. The Germans basically sent recce units straight down it, and they were even going through Russian blocking positions because the Russians didn't realise they were Germans. So it's based on that.
Brilliant. Oh, sorry.
Oops.
Where was our? I just wanted to go to the next one. That was the Valley of Death. Here comes the next one. Right.
That's the end of the Valley.
That's the end of the motorway to Minsk. Right. What about the teams? I noticed that you had to have a few new teams pull in.
Right. We had 2 teams drop in around August.
Yeah.
And we'd always known that was a probability. It's just the nature of the game. Yeah. In fact, can I just say a big thank you to the players? We had 48 players booked for the tournament. Everyone turned up. Yeah. I don't think that's ever happened at a tournament I've run where every single player's managed to get there.
Not
So
not for
thanks.
one of my tournaments.
No, it
Always at
just doesn't
least one
happen.
that
It's
doesn't
life.
turn up.
Life
Yeah.
happens. It's understandable.
Yeah.
But clearly, people really wanted to be there. So we added. So a huge thank you. Spain provided the second team at the end. Jutland had already been arranged, so we'd already arranged with your good selves.
Yeah.
Second team. Spain turned up, so we didn't charge them because they did us a favour, and we had 2 reserve teams ready. One of them being Barbarians.
Yeah.
And so we just went to our reserve team, and they've very, very kindly offered to do the same job again. So they will be available if there is a last-minute withdrawal. Because the only issue with a tournament like this is it does not work if a team suddenly vanishes.
No, no, you have to have 16 teams. Yeah.
Or the
That's the only
format
way.
is dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas with a single play, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
You can
exactly.
just rejig. So yeah, huge thank you to all the players for actually coming. And some of them come crazy distances. Like for 2 American teams to come all the way to Southend is remarkable, really. It shows you a real love of the game.
It does.
And they brought their families. So they made a real event. Yeah. We had the Barbarian team. It was fantastic as well. You had Martin from the UK. You had Jan Pedersen, one of your countrymen.
Yeah.
And then we had August, who is a US officer who's based in Germany.
Yeah.
And so for people to make that effort, it's just fantastic.
It is. It really is. So the dropouts were handled and brilliantly
so. No problem.
So the is the format. Well, now we're getting into next year. Are you aiming for 16 teams again?
We've had a big discussion of it. We've got room to expand, and I've decided no, I don't want to expand for next year. We keep it to 16 because the big change will be we've got 5 new teams coming. So there will be 16, well, actually 15. There'll be 15 separate nations. We're allowing the US to bring 2 teams because the country is so big. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So there will be 16 individual teams, no second teams. And that's no criticism of the second teams that came. Some of them performed superbly. They were wonderful guys.
Some of them need to be first teams, in my opinion.
I 100% agree with that. There are a couple of nations that need to go and look at their lineups.
Really do.
And I'm not going to get involved in that. I've always been very clear.
Yeah.
Your team selection is on you.
Yeah.
I am not getting involved.
Yeah.
How you want to do it is up to you. So that's good. But yeah, it was like a huge thanks to the guys who stepped in. They were wonderful. And I hope some of them can come back.
Yeah.
And participate in the first team or come. I've had a couple of offers from people who said, even if I can't play, I want to be involved. Can I come and help referee or organise? So we're like, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yep.
Also, we will try and we run an event called Three Good Men, which is a club-based event. I am going to try and set up. Normally, it's been in February. I think time restrictions mean maybe we run it in April. But a lot of the teams that came, that invite will be for them to come and enjoy the tables and the place again. As part of that, as club players, rather than international.
Yeah, that is brilliant. Now we're sort of getting into the bit where we talk about what actually happened at the event itself. For you, as the TO, as an observer there, because I was very busy playing, and as soon as my first day was over and I realized that we were actually into the winners bracket, I narrowed I got tunnel vision. I went for that win and didn't see anything else.
You marched your team out at 9 o'clock, got them to bed early, got them ready.
Yeah. And it was difficult because we've had the first few beers at that point, and even I was like, yeah, party time, and then we realized that we were actually.
It was interesting, actually. The teams actually were quite sensibly focused, but so a few did stay on for a little bit longer, but no one was really up all night.
That's always been absolutely accurate.
Well, the Scots. You want to talk about Scots?
Yeah, there was a little bit. There was a little bit. I know that at least some of the Barbarians and the Scots went out drinking heavily.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's always been the downfall of the Welsh team. I remember playing in Cork a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And we'd done very well day one, and we said, right, okay, we've got to be serious. We've got to get this on.
Yeah.
And then Saturday night, 3 a.m, we're in a bar arguing over the Eurovision results or something. It was just ridiculous. We were just not at all focused. That's nice. But yeah, it went really well. And there was a nice mix. Teams were taking it seriously but enjoying it, and that's the main thing. I don't want teams coming and being super serious because it's a game.
Yeah.
You're playing toy soldiers, so go and enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one of the railway track tables.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. So for you, standout players, standout teams, anything you want to mention especially?
Yeah, I don't mind. So I know in your video, I'm very keen not to rank players on the event.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll mention who best generals were, but the reason is it's a team event.
Yeah.
And you have 6 different opponents.
Yeah.
So I've seen strength of schedule. I have a good idea of who did really well, and that's I shared that with you.
Yeah.
But thank you for not making it more public because it's not needed.
No,
it really
it's
isn't.
not, and it's not massively helpful either because in a team event, it's the team that does well or not.
100%.
I mean, you can have individual players who do well, but what opponents are they matched against, and which grouping are they in, and what table? All of that makes it really difficult to evaluate.
It just changes the players I would mention. Obviously, yourself, you had an excellent tournament.
Yeah,
Carlos was very strong again. Manuel had 6 wins, but Manuel will acknowledge on day 2 because of the group drawings.
Yeah.
Manuel is the only person who makes Japan work. We can maybe talk about the armies as well.
Yeah.
I've got to mention Colton. So he's 19 years old. He got 3 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss.
Yeah.
Running Soviets, and that's just incredibly good.
And that's his first international tournament. I mean, that he did incredibly well. The best placed American player. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned Matty from Luftwaffe, one of the so-called weaker teams. He had 4 wins and 2 draws.
Yeah. He also did very well.
Yeah, I suspect that if the German team may be reviewing that because he was just clearly a very good player.
He was.
So that's something that came through. And then it's same old names. So from you had like Paul Wickings did strongly. Jedrzejewski from Poland was a strong player.
Yeah.
Gary Morgan doing well from Wales. So you had a mix of kind of names you expect.
Yeah. Now you didn't run most favored opponents, which some events
I did consider doing that. The only reason I considered doing it was I thought it might improve behaviour of players. But actually, I don't think it was an issue. That's something I'd consider for next year. The only problem with them is my history of them. It's been you just end up with 45 players who've all got maximum marks.
Yeah, because so everyone's being nice. Yeah.
Exactly.
But from a TO standpoint, were there any players who help you out and who you want to like call out and say this was really nice of you?
You know what? No, I'm not gonna. The reason I'm saying that is not because it didn't happen, but because basically the atmosphere is so good.
Yeah.
I just don't feel there's anyone
that is needed. No. Yeah.
Lots of people played really nicely, as it were. So I was really, really pleased with that.
Were there any
particularly players at the top also in particular were very, very friendly and helpful. And the one I do remember that was quite amusing, and you probably won't thank me for mentioning this, but poor old Reese. He played Colton. I think his first game was Colton, and no one knew what to expect. And Reese was bending over backwards to be as helpful as he could to Colton, who then went and smashed him, because it turns out Colton
knew what he was doing.
And there's Reese going, "Oh, if you put it on top of the building, it won't get cover." He was being so friendly and helpful. It probably cost him.
Yeah, it probably did.
If I was going to mention anyone, maybe I'd mention Reese for that moment. That was good. But overall, really pleased with everyone. Everyone who came had the right spirit. No real issues. And so I'm happy. And the standard, I have to say, I think the standard was higher than I was expecting, maybe.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the unknown players that I didn't know played to a very good standard.
Yeah. I felt like there was the players were just very, very competent, both in rules but also in just tactics. Everyone was really good.
Yeah. There weren't many mistakes. Players at this level tend not to make mistakes, and the ones that do, it's by design. So I mentioned somebody else like Johnny in the England team. His mistakes are almost by design. He has a very aggressive flame list, and he will attack you. He plays it super aggressively,
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's by design. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So even when you think, oh, he's made a mistake there, no, he's not made a mistake.
No.
He understands what he's doing. It just didn't work this time.
Yeah.
I mentioned that. The one thing I'm concerned about, I saw your discussion about the variety of lists.
Yeah.
However, 6 of the top 11 lists were British.
Yeah.
Gurkhas.
Yeah.
And I am at the point where I will go into discussion with captains. I think it's very probable version 3 will be out by the time we play next year in October.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting that. If not, I think we need to have a serious discussion about Stuarts I can live with. Look, the others, Gurkhas are just too strong. And I say that as a Gurkha player. I'm not using them anymore. I've said I'm not going to play them anymore because they're just too strong.
But it's really difficult. It's really difficult to know what's going to happen, right? Also,
well, I think we know actually, Bo. I think we've seen that in Tough Gut.
And
they won't be in that book. They weren't fighting in the Caucasus.
Yeah.
But the one
before, but I'm just saying that the new books and version 3, what that will do to the meta is going to be interesting because
absolutely.
But we are right now seeing a calcifying meta, if that makes sense, like a meta that's sort of solidifying a little bit. Yeah.
The good news is with bot action, I still think it's a very, very balanced game.
It is.
Okay, we're seeing lots of British lists, and they are becoming a little bit mono list in that 12 to 13 list of Gurkhas. The Russian list I'm less worried about because they're all varied. They're all different. People doing different things.
Yeah.
Gurkhas is the only unit in the game that worries me.
Yeah.
And I think they fixed it with Tough Gut.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the new rule in Tough Gut, they
I wouldn't take them, and if they're Tough Gut Gurkhas,
I
wouldn't take them.
No, they're fantastic still. Yeah, you're getting a veteran unit they're still a really good choice for me. The only difference is so they lose Scary Blight has changed.
Yeah,
they don't halve attacks, which is just too strong. Like we now know that, but they win ties. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
That's not enough for me. That's not enough for me.
What would you rather take over that? I know we're going on a segue, but it's a fascinating one. What would you take over a Gurkha unit?
Polish Lancers any day then.
Polish Lancers, but they get shot to pieces. I love playing Polish Lancers. Whenever my opponent puts Polish Lancers down on the table, I'm like, great, I've got another win. Because they're big targets, they can't run away. You set up your ambush and you just shoot them to pieces. Cavalry armies are there is a reason there were no cavalry armies at World Open War because they don't work. And even with it, no one took Polish Lancers because not
a single one. Yeah.
Once you know how to play them, they're not a problem.
Maybe.
In my opinion.
We'll see, Russell. I may still be bringing one Polish army to
you and me. We need to have a game. You bring your Polish Lancers, and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, actually, I'm bringing Cossacks to a tournament here in Denmark in a month's time. So we'll see about it.
Make cavalry great again.
Make cavalry great again, or something like that. Anyways. And no tanks, not a single one.
I often do that. I know you do. Play zero tank lists.
Yeah.
Even my German list, which surprised you a bit at BritCon.
It did. It really did. Right. Here at the end, let's focus again.
Right. Yes. Sorry. So
2 things. Do you want to do some shout outs for sponsors, people who need thanks or whatever? Now is the time to do it.
Right. We purposely only had one sponsor, which was Warlord.
Yeah.
Because it is a Warlord official event, effectively. And they were fantastic. They surprised me with the quality of the trophy as well. I was really pleased with that. They went out of their way to do that. Yeah. And they provided 2 trophies as well. So you've got one of them is going to go into their showroom with your name on it, Denmark as world champions. And you've got a copy of it.
Yeah.
We obviously also provided trophies, so that's fantastic. And the prize pool I thought was very good. And I think they are very, very keen on the event and they want to support it more and more. So this will be an annual event, all being well. Yeah. So big thanks to Warlord and particularly Marcus, of course, who runs the coordination of tournaments. Yeah. And then for my club, I'd like to in particular thank we've got a guy Finchy, he does all the terrain. So all the terrain you see. He is pretty much the man on that, or he's the head of it, as it were. He's also. You've got Freddie, our chairman, who deals. Sorry, not chairman, our treasurer, who deals with the finances and runs all that. And then on the day we had Chris there, who was just going around and helping everyone. So they are 3 great guys. But the whole club gets involved. Everyone's doing doing something, and if they didn't, the event wouldn't work. So that's a major part of it. So that would be my kind of shout outs. And then to the players, the 48 players that came, the 16 captains, and the referees again. So Josh, Gary Betts, his dad Colin, really, really good guys who came over and were willing to give up their time to support the event. So yeah, fantastic. Oh, look, there's your so you can see the difference in tables there, actually.
Yeah, you really can. Because the previous one here, I actually played against the Swiss
I love
captain
that. I think that's my
Stefan on this
favourite table, that one.
And this table, it really made a difference what side you picked, right? Because one side had all the line of sight blocking woods, and the other side had all the hard cover. Really made a difference.
Exactly. That was by design. We tested that. We added, so there's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 crossing points on the river.
Yeah, one there, one there, and there, and there.
Yeah, there were originally 3, and we realised it wasn't enough, so we added a 4th.
Yeah.
And then the idea is, okay, you might be restricted somewhat by the river. However, you do get the hard cover to make your pick.
Yeah.
So that seemed to play really well, that one.
Now.
I like this one as well.
The jungle table.
You need to think about this. So the entire table is surrounded by jungle. There's only 4 entry points because you've got barbed wire there as well, because it's based on the Cabana Tuan prison break on the Philippines.
Yeah.
And so you have to think carefully about what you want to do on that table. You won't ever have played on a table like that.
Yeah.
I love that table because
it's really difficult to get in. But my LVT would have loved to play on that.
You should have played it on the Shelt table.
I really should have. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, here at the end, Russell, what are the plans for next year?
Oh yes, let me just do a shout out for next year. So the decision is, that's Tobruk. That one there. Yeah. And given I can see Bright B, that looks to me like it's probably Krzysztof's table from the Poland team. And he looks like he's trying to shell something fantastic. So we're going to run the same event. I've decided not to expand the number of teams.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it to 16 for this year. But all being well, that is something we will review in future years. Anyone at the moment, all 11 teams, individual teams, have signed up and want to go again. That's good. I like that picture. You can see Danny there on the left.
Yep.
Who he came all the way from the Netherlands just to say hi and to support.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's real commitment there.
Yeah.
And you can see he's watching Gordon from the South African team up to something, and then you can see Krzysztof on the right from the Poland team. That's a lovely shot there. You see lots of different people from different places.
Yeah.
So we've got 11 teams signed up already. We've got 3 new teams who were kind of interested in the event for this year, who are now saying, please, can we
sign us up? Yeah.
Yeah. And that leaves us with 2 spots. And I mean, I've already been contacted by 2 teams with regards to that. But anyone hearing this, if you are from a nation that has a team going and you're interested in planning the event, contact me and I will put you in contact with the right person. Every nation has its own way of selecting players. Most of them are running events, which is fantastic because there's an event to get to the event. That's really we want this. If you're from a nation that doesn't have a team and you're interested in being a rep, all the more reason to contact me, and we will see what we can do. The club and plan rules.
Yeah. Are you going to reveal a little bit about what you will put in the pack for next year? What will the points count, or no?
I think we won't change the point system because that worked really well. Some games were decided by the bonus points, so we award 1 bonus point if you win your round, and that actually changed a couple of results. So we're going to keep that because it did exactly what we wanted it to do, which it meant the rounds really matter. So
it made it a true team event.
100%. It makes it a team event, which with the best of respect to other events, they're team events, but they're not. They're individual events. That's how Fire Pass. I like that table. I'm a fan of that one.
That was the one I played against Riz on.
Yeah, it's open, isn't it? But
it really is.
If you look for it. So we'll be doing that. The points won't change. The probably almost certainly will stay single generic platoon. Although that will depend on version 3, I guess. We played 1,100 points. The reason we did that is it's different. I now see several tournaments for next year have gone to 1,100. I might be tempted to change that slightly. Just to keep
Just
things
to mix it
different.
up.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But don't expect major changes.
Okay.
I don't think they're needed, Bo. I think there'd be
No.
an element of like mixing and playing
Mm.
with a system that works pretty well. We will make small adjustments to improve it.
Okay.
But overall, I was really pleased with the way it ran.
It really was,
And
yeah.
that was down to play. I just love that there. What you're staring at there is an 18-foot long table. You see
One table
Manuel
here, second table there,
winning the
and the
game.
third
And
table
as you say,
right
the
there.
terrain's all 3D. There's valleys
Yeah.
in there. There's
Yeah.
hills.
Yeah.
How can you not love playing on those tables?
Yeah.
We will make some new tables. I've already spoken to Finchy and some of the other guys. I want new tables and I want them themed. So I want the one I really want to build. Giving away stuff is. Have you seen the film? Is it 800? About the Chinese defending the factory.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if that appears.
Wow.
And there'll be some other tables we really want to build.
That would be cool. But by the way, that's a really cool movie.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. Yeah, it's a fun movie. Pegasus. It's very warlordy actually. In that it's very bolt action. That is silly and over the top.
Yeah, exactly.
And doesn't particularly represent what actually happened.
No.
but it's very warlord.
It's very warlord. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got Pegasus Bridge. We just cannot make bridges work.
Okay.
There's just you put a bridge on the table and it just it affects the balance of the game too much, to my mind. But
I've seen it work like once or twice, but it is difficult to make it work properly. There was one table in Holland at the Dutch Nationals where it sort of worked.
Good. Okay.
I'll see if I can send you a picture of it. And
the other thing I'm looking at, because there's 3 armies, we only had one table that had snow.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if there's a couple more where actually you might want to take skis. And also, don't be surprised. Like you can't really see it, but on that picture in front of you, the one at the end has got a hilltop that is impassable. Yeah. Unless you're mountaineers. So don't be surprised if there's a couple more. So I'm going to try and make the terrain even more important.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need a mix of lists to reflect that.
That is so cool.
But overall, were you happy, Bo? You sound like you were pretty happy with the event.
I was very, very happy with the event. I was very, very happy, of course, with how my team did. And
of course, it did very well. But the fantastic thing as well is it was an event where your team nearly missed out on day one. That's how close these things are. It comes down to inches. Yeah. And they did. It's fantastic. So to win the event, but to have nearly been knocked out on day one into Group 2 is incredible.
It is incredible, and that was down to the secondaries that you guys put on the tables, because we got
there you go. We got
2 more secondaries than the American Swans. That was what put us in the winning bracket. No, I was really happy with the event. It was a great weekend. Lovely to see all the the frenemies that you make.
Frenemies.
Yeah. Well, they're the people that you want to beat, but at the same time they're your friends.
I'm not sure I'd describe them like that, but I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. I have too much fun playing these guys. So
yeah, exactly.
That's the one negative. The one negative on this tournament is I can't play in it, and that's very frustrating. I obviously have links to the Wales team. But I hope that people appreciate I am unbiased and I'm balanced, and I like to think I have a reputation as being a very fair person who's not favouring anyone. Yeah. Anyway, in fact, I got more complaints about my refereeing decisions from the Welsh team than anyone else, because I was probably harsher on them to make sure it was clear I wasn't. Yep. So, but overall, no, really good event. I'm already. You know what? We're 363 days away from WoW 2. I'm already excited about it.
That's
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. Because normally you go away from an event like this and you're sort of drained and worn out. Yeah. But I was ready to go like a few days after. I was like, when am I going again?
We need to do more challenge events. Something we've done occasionally. During lockdown, the German team came to my clubhouse and we had a mini tournament. We need to do more of that, I think. Just like get to, because I just think that individuals is great, but playing this as a team event
It's
just
what
not
makes
enough
this.
opportunities. It's so
It's
much more fun.
It is because there's the team spirit, and at the same time you're meeting up with friends from other teams as well. So it's just a
Exactly.
great community gathering that's
Yeah.
really great.
We had
So
a really good Saturday night. Everyone
yeah,
met.
yeah.
I might change that next year so teams can go where they want.
Mm.
So that would be a little bit of feedback. Is maybe just be a bit more open so teams can just do what they want. That's fine. Hotels. I basically deliberately was like, I don't want to be involved. You go and get. And Southend in October, it's got lots of hotels and guest houses. It's not a problem because it's out of season, but it's a place that in the summer is very busy. Maybe I can help more on that if teams need it. So I'll get feedback and see what we can do to improve, because I just want the event to keep getting better. And then so better is the main aim, and then bigger is after that. So we potentially could get to 20 teams for 2025.
Would you need to move locations at that
No,
point?
we've got we've got plans. So the issue with moving location is the cost skyrockets. So like we were charging, I think it was £30 per player. That's for 2 days play. Like you will not get that kind of value anywhere else.
No, that is true.
And because the club, they make a profit on it, obviously, but it's not big. I don't. Just be clear, I don't make anything out of it. I'm a club member. It's all for the club. And the club's happy with that. They make a small profit on it. That goes well. They use it, and all their money goes into terrain. No one's taking a profit out of that. So you'll see new terrain next year. I've already
We're looking forward to it.
We've got the Stalingrad fountain to add.
I'll specifically be looking for that Chinese table.
I can't wait to get that built.
Russell, thank you so much for coming on the channel. Thank you so much for putting on the wow, and thank you for your congratulations. I was so happy about taking that trophy. I've been wanting to do that for so long.
And as I say, Bo, it's not the free man talk. It is the official Warlord champion.
That makes me.
You've got to defend it now.
The world champion for 3-man bolt action, and that was
no. It makes you the world champion in team bolt action.
Team bolt action, exactly.
It doesn't have to be 3-man. That's by the by.
Nice. Thank you so much. Then I will defend it next year. I'll see you all there. Thank you, Russell.
I look forward to it. All the best, bud.
Cheers.
Bye.